The fluorescent lights of Rosie's diner flickered as Sarah. Chen wiped down table 7 for what felt like the 100th time that night. Her feet ached in shoes held together with duct tape, and her mind kept drifting to the eviction notice folded in her apron pocket. 3 days. That's all she had left before her 6-year-old daughter. Emma would have nowhere to sleep. The weight of single motherhood had never felt heavier than it did in that moment. Watching wealthy customers come and go, leaving behind half-eaten steaks that cost more than her weekly grocery budget. She didn't recognize him at first. The man in the corner booth wore a simple gray sweater and reading glasses, his attention buried in a worn paperback. No designer suit, no flashy watch, nothing that screamed wealth. Just another Tuesday night customer in a diner that had seen better days. Sarah approached with her practiced smile. The one she'd perfected over 3 years of serving. Coffee and pancakes while her dreams of becoming a nurse collected dust. "What can I get you tonight?" she asked, notepad ready. He ordered simply. "Black coffee and apple pie. No modifications, no special requests." As Sarah turned to leave, he looked up from his book. "Long shift?" The question caught her off guard. Most customers didn't see her as a person, just a uniform that brought food. "Every shift feels long lately," she admitted, then immediately regretted the honesty. Rule number 1, don't burden customers with your problems. But he just nodded knowingly and returned to his book. The dinner rush intensified. Sarah moved through the chaos on autopilot, refilling coffee cups, taking orders, and dodging the impatient snaps of demanding customers. Table 12 complained their water wasn't cold enough. Table 5 sent back their eggs twice. Through it all, the quiet man in the corner booth sat reading, occasionally glancing up to watch the organized chaos of the diner with what seemed like genuine interest. When Sarah finally brought his pie, he was closing his book. "Do you ever take a moment to just breathe?" he asked. Sarah laughed, a tired sound. "Breathing's for people who can afford rent." The words tumbled out before she could stop them. She flushed with embarrassment. But instead of the pity or discomfort she expected, the man's expression softened with understanding. "I worked in a place like this once," he said quietly. "Different city, different decade. But that feeling of drowning while everyone around you is oblivious? I remember it well." Something in his voice made Sarah pause. She glanced at his calloused hands, the weathered lines around his eyes. This wasn't a man who'd been handed everything. "What happened?" she found herself asking. "Someone gave me a chance when I needed it most. Changed the trajectory of my entire life," he smiled. "Sometimes that's all it takes. One moment of grace." Before Sarah could respond, another table erupted in complaints, and she was pulled back into the storm. By the time she looked back, the man was standing, pulling on a simple jacket. He left cash on the table and walked toward the door, pausing only to nod at Sarah with a small, knowing smile. When the diner finally emptied around midnight, Sarah approached the corner booth with her bus tub. The cash on the table was exact, $15 for a bill of $14.75. Her heart sank. No tip. After that whole conversation, after that connection, nothing. The disappointment stung more than usual, perhaps because she'd allowed herself to hope. She began stacking dishes, swallowing the lump in her throat. Some people were just good talkers. She'd learned that lesson before. But as she lifted his plate, something fluttered to the table. An envelope. Sarah's hands trembled as she picked it up. It was thick, made of expensive cardstock, and completely blank on the outside. She glanced around the empty diner. Her manager had already retreated to the office. The cook was in the back, headphones on. She opened it. Inside was a check. Not for $20, not for $100. The number seemed impossible, $50,000. Written out in precise handwriting, "For Emma's future and yours. Pay it forward when you can." Sarah's legs gave out. She sat heavily in the booth, staring at the check like it might disappear. $50,000, rent, medical bills, Emma's asthma medication, the used car that kept breaking down, the nursing school application fee she couldn't afford, the impossible mountain of debt that kept her working double shifts suddenly seemed manageable. Her hands shook as she flipped the check over. In the memo line, just 2 words, "Keep breathing." The tears came then, hot and unstoppable. She pressed her palms against her eyes, trying to maintain some shred of composure, but the relief, the shock, the sheer impossibility of what had just happened overwhelmed every defense she'd built. You okay out here? Marcus, the night cook, poked his head through the kitchen door. Sarah couldn't speak. She just held up the check. Marcus's eyes went wide. Is that real? I don't know, Sarah whispered. I think so? The next morning, after a sleepless night of wonder and disbelief, Sarah took the check to the bank. Her hands still trembled as she approached the teller, half expecting to be told it was a cruel joke. But the teller's expression shifted from routine boredom to shock as she examined the check. Ma'am, this is from the Thornton Foundation. You'll need to speak with a manager. 20 minutes later, Sarah sat in a small office while a bank manager verified the check's authenticity. It's legitimate, he confirmed, looking impressed. James Thornton. He's a local billionaire who made his fortune in tech. Sold his company last year for... He paused, checking his computer. $3 billion. He's known for these random acts of generosity, but he keeps a very low profile. Sarah's mind reeled. A billionaire. She'd served coffee to a billionaire. And he'd left no tip because he'd left something infinitely more valuable. There's a letter here too, the manager said, handing her a second envelope she hadn't noticed. Sarah opened it with shaking hands. Dear Sarah, 30 years ago, I was sleeping in my car and working 3 jobs trying to survive. A waitress named Gloria at a diner not unlike. Rosie saw me pocketing packets of crackers to eat for dinner. Instead of calling me out, she started accidentally making extra food that would go to waste if someone didn't eat it. When I thanked her, she said, everyone needs help sometimes. Just promise you'll help someone else when you can. I've built a fortune since then, but I've never forgotten that feeling of drowning, or the lifeline Gloria threw me. I eat at diners all over this city looking for people who remind me of who I used to be. People who work themselves to exhaustion while the world walks by without noticing. This isn't charity. It's a responsibility passed from Gloria to me and now from me to you. Use it to build the life you deserve. And someday, when you're steady on your feet and you see someone drowning, throw them a lifeline too. Keep breathing. James. Sarah read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down her face. That evening, she picked up Emma from her neighbor's apartment and held her daughter close, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo. Mommy, why are you crying? Emma asked, her small hands cupping Sarah's face. Because something wonderful happened, baby. We're going to be okay. We're always okay, Emma said with the simple confidence of childhood. We have each other. Sarah laughed through her tears. Out of the mouths of babes. That night, after Emma fell asleep, Sarah sat at their small kitchen table and made a list. Rent. Paid. Through next year. Emma's medical expenses. Covered. A reliable car? Absolutely. Nursing school. Application. Submitted. And at the bottom of the list, she wrote, emergency fund for someone else who needs breathing room. 6 years later, Dr. Sarah Chen walked through the halls of County General Hospital, her nursing degree framed in her small office. She still worked long shifts, but now she was building toward something bigger. Emma was thriving in school, her asthma managed, her college fund growing steadily. And once a month, Sarah visited Rosie's diner. She'd order coffee and pie, leave exact change for the bill and under her plate. She'd leave an envelope for whichever waitress looked like they were drowning. Sometimes it was $100, sometimes more. Always with the same note, keep breathing. Pay it forward when you can. Because kindness isn't a transaction. It's a legacy. And the greatest tips aren't measured in percentages. They're measured in changed lives and the ripple effect of one person choosing to see another person's humanity in their darkest moment.